What is AD's secret formula? How does he do what he does year after year, week in, week out, month after month, year after year? What is his magic touch? Did Shanann really have lupus? These are two of the things that I'll be discussing in this podcast. I'm about to head out in a very windy, blustery, chilly day. It's actually not really cold, but because of the wind, it makes it more chilly than it really is. So first of all, I want to deal with AD. What is his secret formula? It's been a year and a half since Claire Morgan came on the scene and said that she would have AD's channel, gone. And all this time later, he's still here. And there's no sign of a court date. So even in that sense, everything is in AD's favor. And what I'm saying is not going to be very popular. What I'm going to be saying is true, not popular. But what is AD's formula? What happens is that he creates a theory. He creates a conspiracy for that theory. Then he creates some kind of cover-up. A theory, a conspiracy for the theory, and then a cover-up. That seems to be his formula for every case. And the other thing that he likes to say is that he knows more than everybody else. Of course, we all know that that's nonsense. And how many times did he say that they're going to get MK and she'll be joining Chris Watts? Never happened, did it? Shonen Cadle came on his channel and said the same nonsense. Never happened. She just said that to, get her book sold. Now, I've spoken to AD by proxy, not directly, but by proxy, and found him to be a pleasant individual. But then again, a lot of charmers are pleasant to deal with. And if you don't look beyond the surface, they can seem very nice on the surface. But, he broke down step by step. He gave me a step-by-step explanation of what happened in regard to the Claire Morgan situation. And he proved unequivocally that she didn't follow prompts, that she didn't respond, that she ran away, basically that she didn't know what she was doing at all. So, and he showed proof of that. When he does his cases, that's a completely different thing. And another thing that I want to say is there's a lot of people going around, particularly in the Watts Island section of YouTube, saying, oh, this person took my work and now making money from it. Well, in a court of law, I don't think any judge, and this is not going to be very popular, but I'm giving you the facts and I'm giving you my opinion and I'm giving you my perspective and my truth. People have been taking ideas from other people since the dawn of time. Where do you think Elvis got his ideas from? Where do you think Elvis got his ideas for his songs and his stage performances and his dancing? Many of the things that Elvis did on stage is reminiscent of African-American artists. And some people say that, Elvis took, he took from African-Americans and commercialized it and, took their work. But I don't see it that way because I like what Elvis Presley did. I like Elvis. I think Elvis Presley was a great performer, very charismatic man. I liked his music. I liked how he performed. I liked how he danced. Michael Jackson, his Billie Jean Motown 25 performance was taken from a performance in a movie by Bob Fosse called Snake in the Grass. And actually, if you go online and you look on YouTube and you see the Snake in the Grass performance in that film, it's very, very similar to what Michael Jackson did at the Motown 25 performance. Very, very similar. from the way Bob Fosse moves to the clothes he's wearing, the hat, the shoes, everything. And no one goes around saying, Michael Jackson took Bob Fosse's idea and, he shouldn't have done that. Now, look, I don't like what AD does. I don't like how he twists the narrative. But anyone who says, he took my work and blah, 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 well, he's just going to get away with doing that. And I understand how you must feel. Don't get me wrong. It's not like I don't have compassion. But that's what people have been doing from the dawn of time, taking other people's ideas, maybe embellishing someone else's ideas, making it their own, taking an idea from somebody and making it reach mainstream audiences or making it popular in a way that it otherwise wouldn't be. Even the moonwalk by Michael Jackson, he didn't invent the moonwalk. Moonwalk was a street dance that he, took from somebody else and made it his own. And everyone thinks, Michael Jackson invented the moonwalk. No, he didn't. And I don't believe that AD invented the shadows or came up with that theory more than anybody else did. But it just so happens that he became popular with that theory. And, I'm still on the middle road with that theory, and I'm not sure if it's true or not, because shadows can be very deceiving. So when people say, he took my work and everything like that, well, he's not doing anything that anyone else hasn't been doing from the, since the dawn of time. Taking somebody else's ideas and making it your own, embellishing it, cleaning it up, taking something and making it sellable is what people have been doing since the dawn of time. And if you can't prove that you came up with the idea originally, then no judge is going to really care, to be honest with you. And I'm just telling you the honest truth. Now, there's a lot of talk online, and I'm going to do a separate episode on this, but I wanted to mention it here, about whether or not Shanann really had lupus. I know very little about lupus, very little. I've done a little bit of research on it, but I still don't have a very good understanding of lupus. I do think, or I do believe, and I've got to fact check this, that Michael Jackson was diagnosed with lupus. And people say, well, if you've got lupus, then you can't sit out in the sun, or if you've got lupus, you can't be an active person, you're going to be bedridden. Well, that's not necessarily the case, because every disease affects each individual in a different way. And some people have a more severe form of a disease than others. I've got a cousin who's got MS. And some days she's perfectly fine, and other days she's bedridden. And then there's somebody else that I know who has MS, who is constantly bedridden. They both have it, but the severity of the disease is different, and it affects people in different ways. I could take a tablet tonight, and my friend could take a tablet tonight. And that same tablet from that same box might affect us in different ways. So when people say that she can't have had lupus because how was she able to do this, or how was she able to do that? Well, do you know what the severity of her disease was? Maybe she had a mild case of it, or a milder case than somebody else. And it seems like people don't really take that into account. They just say, she can't have had lupus because she could do this. Well, like I said, diagnosis of diseases or illnesses can affect people in different ways. And some people have a more severe version of a disease than others. That's just how it works. It's just like with COVID. You might get COVID and you might be very ill, and somebody else could get COVID and it doesn't affect them at all. So when people say, well, she didn't have lupus, and I'm not saying that she did or she didn't. I'm not her doctor. I don't know whether she had it or not. But when people just say she didn't have lupus, because if she had lupus, she would be this, that. Well, how do you know that? Like I said, Michael Jackson had lupus, and look at the things that he was able to do on stage. Look at the dancing that he did. Look at the performances he did. Look at the lunges he did. And he had lupus. So I think I'm going to do a separate episode on this and talk about this in more detail, because I think people are too they're looking at it in a very generic way. Diseases affect people in very, very different ways. Someone was asking me today, what's my loyalty to Dave, and this is this person who I actually really like and get along with, and I don't like the way Dave spoke to her. But she said, because of my past videos that I've really gone at Dave and, wiped the floor with Dave and blah, blah, blah. And she doesn't understand my loyalty to him now. I think that's what she's saying. She doesn't understand. I think she wants me to be more harsh on Dave with my criticism. And to that I say, I've made many, many critical videos of Dave. I'm actually getting ready. So if you hear me moving around, that's exactly what I'm doing. I don't usually make a podcast like this. I usually sit down still and record, but I have to get ready. I've made many critical videos of Dave, and that time came to an end. It was enough. I don't want to be a broken record. Do the same stuff over and over and over again. I've criticized Dave, and I'm not beyond criticizing him, but if I'm going to criticize him, I've got to criticize others, because, AD is no better than Dave. And, if people want to talk about people making money from this case, well, Frankie has received, and I said that to this person, Frankie has received over 40 grand in donations out of this case, claiming that he's going to take AD to court, which has never happened, and which I don't believe is ever going to happen. So, once Justin said that he called me a hypocrite because I said that people shouldn't make money out of true crime. And that's not what I said. I said, if people tell the truth and stick to the truth, and they write books or create movies and they stick to the actual narrative, the true narrative, and they don't twist the narrative to suit their own ends, something along those lines. That's what I said. I have no problem with somebody, Anne Rule, for example. She wrote many great books on cases, and she made money from it, and she didn't try and deviate and twist the narrative to create drama, to create something that's more dramatic than it already is. People like her I respect. After the OJ trial, there were many people who wrote books and made lots of money. Johnny Cochran made a lot of money out of his book. And, he might have a different opinion to some people. But, I don't believe that he created any conspiracies. He just told what he thought, his side of the story, what he thought was true from his perspective. So I have no problem with people making money from their work, as long as they do it with integrity and honesty. And that's the difference between what Justin was trying to say about me and what I've said, is that there's no problem with making an analysis, having an opinion, telling the truth about a case. There's no problem with I have no problem with people like Scott Reich making money, for example. As long as they tell the truth, or the truth from their perspective, and they don't twist it to create or bring in other characters that weren't involved. That's the difference. Netflix has made millions from the Tiger King and the Chris Watts documentary and many other documentaries that they've had on their network. And I like Netflix. I think Netflix is an excellent streaming network. So for me to say that, I don't think people should make money from cases. No, I never said that. It's when people twist the narrative. That's what I have a problem with. Truman Capote wrote that book, In Cold Blood. It's probably the best-selling nonfiction case ever. Best-selling book of nonfiction of a case. I have no problem, and Truman Capote isn't around anymore, but I have no problem with books like that that are well researched, well written, well thought out. He was really a pioneer in this whole genre as far as I'm concerned. So I have no problem with people who create works on cases and they do it with integrity and they tell the truth, or at least the truth from their perspective. I've got no problem with it whatsoever. It's when people twist the narrative and do a lot more, like what AD does. That's when I have an issue. That's when I have a problem. So I've come back, and to summarize, I'm not saying that I agree with anything that AD is doing. I don't support AD's content at all. But I'm not a person in authority, and it's for a person in authority to deal with him and not me. So I'm not going to be, it's not my job, to bring what he's doing to light, and it shouldn't be anyone else's apart from, unless someone is a lawyer or an attorney. It's been years and years of doing this, and it's wasted energy, wasted emotion, and if Frankie's lawyers can't do anything, then why does anyone else think they can do anything? And maybe that's a pessimistic way to look at things, but I'm just being realistic. But and you have like CNN, you've got Fox News, CBS, NBC. Do they not get paid to report on cases like the Murdoch case or the Watts case? They get paid to report on cases, to do interviews, to do analysis, to write books or whatever, to make documentaries on these cases, don't they? They get paid, right? So I have no problem with that, as long as people stick to the truth.